The Kremlin has made a series of dramatic announcements in response to its failing special military operation in Ukraine. Russia says it will hold referendum votes in occupied Ukrainian territory to officially recognize the areas as Russian. Foreign correspondent Tom Burridge joining me now live from Kharkiv, Ukraine. Tom, how significant is this announcement, and how could it affect the fighting?
This is a dramatic series of steps taken by the Kremlin, Deirdre. Let's deal with them one by one. Firstly, this idea that there'll be these referendums in parts of Ukraine occupied by the Russians right now. So effectively the east and the south in simple terms. I mean, that is effectively the Russians trying to legitimize their presence there. But I think also it really ups the risk of escalation, because these will not be free and fair votes. The conclusion of these referenda is foregone. Russia will basically ensure that these are votes legitimizing its presence in its eyes here in Ukraine. And I think more broadly it means that Russia in the future going forward will be able to see from its perspective that those parts of Ukraine are considered as Russian territory. And it potentially means that any attacks by Ukrainian forces, and potentially with Western-supplied weapons, namely US-supplied weapons, are seen by the Russians as attacks on Russian territory. So I think it increases the risk in this conflict hugely. And then you have that idea of mass mobilization. Legislation is being rushed through the Russian parliament right now, and that would effectively massively increase the pool of men from the ages of 17 to 27 initially that the Russian military could call on to force them into this war. And we've just spoken to an analyst in Moscow right now. We can't name him for his own personal safety, but he thinks also that the Russian state is moving towards martial law. So all in all, this is a dramatic move by the Kremlin. It increases the risks in this war, increases the risks of escalation, and it shows that Putin is doubling down. He's not going to back down, even though on the battlefield, his military have seen a series of defeats in recent days.
Moving towards, or this idea of moving towards martial law, that is a very strong statement indeed, Tom. Meanwhile, we see Russia stepping up its attacks on civilian infrastructure in response to the successful counter-offensive that we've seen near Kharkiv. That's where you are. What is the latest?
Well, we're seeing on the ground here quite a sort of dramatic move, I think, within the last few hours. We're hearing a lot of, in the last few hours, outgoing fire from the Ukrainians east from here, effectively, because Kharkiv city, where we are now, is about a 3-hour drive down towards the front line. Yesterday, we were in Izium, a newly liberated city by the Ukrainian forces. We saw a huge amount of military activity around there. We just had 2 fighter jets, we believe, fly over our hotel here. And all of this speaks of how the Ukrainian military seem to be trying to continue their momentum, trying to take even more territory in this northeasterly region of Ukraine to try and capitalize, I think, on Russian weaknesses right now. Now, the weather is turning here. You can probably hear and see the rain behind me. And that gives the Ukrainians a bit of a window. They know that once the ground gets soft underneath them, they won't be able to go on the offensive so easily. So the clock is ticking in that respect, but it all speaks of that kind of shifting dynamic in the Ukrainians' favor and against Russia right now, and why we're seeing this dramatic response by Vladimir Putin today. We expect Vladimir Putin to address the Russian people tonight on state TV.
Thank you, as always, Tom, and stay safe, as always. Tom Burridge joining us there from Ukraine.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.